Tori, before we get started here, I want you to set the stage for us. For some of our listeners who are maybe just beginning their AI journey, walk us through the difference between using AI and deploying an AI agent.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge difference that most people haven't really grasped yet. So when ChatGPT came out in November of 2022, that was what the first time that we had generative AI. Artificial intelligence in general has been around since the 1950s, which a lot of people don't know. We've been using it in marketing and advertising. We've been using it in a bunch of tech applications, but generative AI is really where we started getting the hype and people started paying attention. And generative AI is what most people have been using. It's the assistant, right? It's reactive. You prompt it, it produces something like write me a job description, and boom, it writes it. And then it sits there and it waits for your next instruction. It is generative because every time that you write write a prompt, it's going to give you a different answer. It's just a predictive model. It's guessing what word comes next in every single response that it gives you. An agent, on the other hand, is an orchestrator. It's more proactive. You give it a goal instead of a single task, and it plans and executes across multiple steps and multiple systems. So instead of just like, write me a job description, you can say, fill this rec for an AE by Friday. And it actually does the groundwork, can formulate the email, can look into all of the people who have already applied, can go through your CRM, make the decision on what needs to be done next, and then deliver you the outcome way quicker. So that's kind of the difference between AI, which has been around since the 1950s, just algorithms and machine learning, generative AI, which came out kind of with the expansion of ChatGPT, and then agentic AI, which we also in my organization called digital labor, which is the hype kind of in this 2026 landscape.
Digital labor is a fantastic way to, I guess, categorize it, right? Thinking about
Yeah.
agents as digital labor. When you look at the individuals you're helping, the clients that you're working with, would you say that most people are still leaning in that generative AI field, that they're still using the prompt and response, prompt again type of methodology? Or are you seeing a shift already to agentic AI?
There's a minimal shift. I think where most of the shift is happening is in the hype cycle and the news cycle. I don't think a lot of companies are really ready to take that leap into full agentic AI yet. I don't think it's always needed quite yet for a lot of different industries and a lot of different organizations either. So I think the majority of people are still sitting in that generative AI space and haven't really leapt to the agentic AI. But I'd say more individuals who are playing and toying around with some shadow AI, which is artificial intelligence that really isn't pushed out from your organization, but just fun for individual users to play with on their own, are starting to curate these agentic systems. I'm sure a lot of y'all out there have heard the Anthropic boom, right? Now we have Claude Cowork and Claude Code, which really allows and gives the capability to build agentic AI as somebody who isn't a developer or doesn't know how to code, which is giving more allowances to your everyday people to start integrating this into their workflow. But I always remind people to kind of take themselves out of that hype cycle and start getting so nervous, because the vast majority of people and organizations have not yet started implementing or shipping agentic
Yeah.
AI systems.
I think that hype cycle is incredibly real. I talk about it in a few of the different sessions that I've been giving this year where it kind of becomes an echo chamber, right? You yourself are looking at a news topic, AI, whatever it might be. And now all of a sudden your entire news feed is about that topic because you live in an echo chamber. This is huge around the political landscape, right? Around election season, you start looking at a specific topic or you slant one way or opposed to the other. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, everybody either agrees or disagrees with me based on that echo chamber that you put yourself in. And
Brad,
it,
that's
it's
so right.
it's just simply not the case. It's just social media is aligning you to this echo chamber to show you more of what they think you want to see. And I see that in AI a lot. I get a huge FOMO feeling because of it, because I am so heavily invested into learning more about it that I feel like I'm behind, because now all of my news feeds are about how, God, why are you so behind on all of this, Brad? And it's important to remember, listen, I am perceivably behind because I myself am doing it to myself. I'm putting myself in this never ending feedback loop of an echo chamber.
It's it's so true. It's scary, right? As
Yeah.
somebody who I my 9 to 5 is AI. A lot of my friends are working in the AI space. I run an AI networking group, so not only is my 9 to 5 AI, but my 5 to 9 is AI. So everybody I even talk to, just kind of out and about, are all talking about this. But bring yourself down to ground level. And I might be a little outdated with this stat because it's probably a couple months old at this point, and with how fast AI moves, a couple months can bring you outdated. But only 5% of users on ChatGPT actually have a paid license. Like, what does that look like? Obviously, not having a paid license, you're not going to get terribly far. That's just the fact of the matter. Um, so if only 5% have a paid license, are we really as far as everybody on your LinkedIn and everybody on your Instagram reel and everybody on your TikTok is saying that we are? No, you're just surrounding yourself with that 5% that is kind of blasting
Yeah.
off and forward.
Where do you think staffing leaders should get started when they look at integrating AI into their workflow or into their day to day?
Oh boy. I say try to pick a specific task. Where I tell everybody to get started, staffing leader or not, is by mapping their workflows. You need to understand how you work and what those tasks look like to be able to understand where you can start implementing AI. So go through your day, and a lot of times I use my voice to do this, but every 15 minutes as I do something, I take a moment and I talk it out or write down exactly what that process looks like. Now, after a week of doing that, you're going to see what every single task that you do looks like. Really, a job is just a bundle of tasks. So start breaking down my job into the bundle of tasks and start writing down exactly what those steps look like for each and every single one of those tasks. And then look at it, think about it, and say, where's the biggest pain point? What is pulling the most time? Where am I spending the most time that's not actually revenue generating activity? And then go in to see how you can start integrating artificial intelligence in the agentic form or just the generative AI form to be able to do it for you. A good description or a good example is what I brought up earlier. If you're not using AI for just writing canned job descriptions, you're spending a lot of time on something that can be easily done a lot quicker. So I always say map the workflows, find those pain points, and then work backwards from there. Of course, you need to try to figure out what tool aligns with your company and which one will get the most done for you for the right price point. But if you don't know what your day looks like, you're not going to be able to implement artificial intelligence appropriately.
When you're writing, or I guess when you're articulating those voice notes, are you doing that directly in an LLM like ChatGPT? Are you using a voice notes? Are you doing that in, I guess, where are you doing that?
Yeah, so I do it into large language models. I use a few different large language models. I sit mostly on ChatGPT for my personal life because as an early adopter, I was literally on the ChatGPT interface on day 2 of it coming out. So I've had it for almost 3 years now, and it knows everything about my personal life, but I don't really like it for work life anymore. I use Gemini, which is mostly in my workspace, and I'm starting to use Claude a little bit more, just because really it's really expanded its capabilities as has become my favorite. But any of those you can do voice to text, just either on your Mac. There's the little F5 microphone that you can put on, or some of them that just have the voice to text option. Also, if you don't even have a large language model yet, open up your Notes app and do voice to text on your Notes app and then email it to yourself. There's so many ways to get it out of your mouth onto computer, that there's no excuse. I'm from the Northeast. I'm originally from Connecticut. I can talk 90 words per minute, 100 if I've had a cup of coffee, but I can only type 40 words per minute. So it's just efficiency, even without using AI.
I think it's important though to use some sort of tool to track what it is that you're doing. Otherwise, you're kind of trying to duct tape something that you don't know if there's a real problem there. Right? Like we do that with our health, we do that with our finances. We try to find the leak in the bucket, right? If we look at our finances and we don't know where our money's going, we use something like Rocket Money and we say, "Oh, well, look, I have 14 subscriptions that are all costing me $9.99. That's where my money is going. Oh, I didn't know
Mhm.
about these 7. That's where my money's going." And you have that lens that you can then look through. Health is the same way. I don't know why I'm gaining weight. Well, if we track all of our calories in some sort of app or we use something to do that, even an LLM, that's what I do. If we're tracking it, then we can say, okay, well, it's because we're snacking at night that are leading to extra calories that are getting us away from our goals. But without tracking any of that, we sort of just start to guess. And I think what I'm seeing a lot of in the AI space, especially in staffing and recruiting, is we're almost trying to force fit a solution. We're seeing this echo chamber. We're seeing other people use it for different ways and with different reasons in mind. So we're trying to sort of force fit that into our workflow instead of saying, okay, for a week, all I'm going to do is document what it is that I've done, maybe 2 weeks if I really want to get into this, and say, okay, now let's use AI to actually troubleshoot where there's gaps, where I'm wasting time, where I would be better off spending my time. I mean, I'm thinking through the sales team that does this as a collective group to figure out how to elevate their sales outreach and elevate their sales processes. Where is our team wasting time? Where are we wasting our efforts? What's working? What's not? We don't know if we don't have clean data.
Correct. The You just nailed the what is it? Nailed the nail on the head.
Yeah, the nail on the head.
You
Yeah.
just um it's all about clean data. And don't let that necessarily stop you from starting this journey, but without clean data, you're not going to have clean responses, you're not going to have clean interface, you're not going to have a clean system. So that's a kind of A plus where to start too, making sure that, and I say clean data is even stuff written down, which is why I noted like talk out and get it written down on paper. Because empirical knowledge, anything that's just in your head, AI isn't going to use until it gets out of your head and down onto paper. And that's all data. So these people that are building companies with this empirical data, I think that you said it perfectly with, man, I don't know how to lose weight because you have everything that you're eating in your head and in your stomach. As soon as you put it down on paper, you can really start parsing out where those gaps are, where the problems are. And that's all clean data. Do you have labeling problems within your Google Drive where your data from 2026 is labeled 2025 still? People need to start looking at what that data looks like within their internal systems as well. I think that's a really great point.
You mentioned not being self reliant on one LLM. How important is that really?
Very, because each large language model has a different quote unquote personality. So, what I've always done starting out is I take one prompt, one query, one problem, one thing that I'm trying to work through, and I'll put it into 4 different large language models for a couple reasons. A, to see which one I like the tone of best. B, to see which one is giving me the answer that resonates more with how I'm thinking and working through. And C, figure out which one actually has the capabilities that I need to solve the problem. So your chat GPT is going to have a different tone, different results, and different answers than a Gemini, than a Claude, than a Grok, than a Copilot. And there's so many out there to choose from. It's like having 5 different friends and figuring out which one to ask relationship advice to. Some of your friends just aren't going to give you the advice that you want, and some are going to give you the advice that's going to get you over the breakup, right? So it is really important to try and figure out, because now I've had people, which ChatGPT used to be the biggest one. Now I've had people that start with ChatGPT and they're like, man, it just doesn't sound good. It doesn't have the right tone. I just don't like it. So I don't understand why people use AI at all. Don't stop there. Just because you don't like one person doesn't mean you won't like the other person. Experiment. And there are tools out there where you can kind of experiment with a couple of different large language models. Realistically, for capability, unless you're a mathematician or this advanced coder, I think capability is going to be pretty even on what they can actually figure out and answer. It's more about how it figures it out, what tone, what steps that it gives you, and how you resonate with those responses.
Hey, a quick pause before we get back to the show, because this is something every staffing leader needs to hear. Most staffing firms are spending a lot on benefits and still only covering about half of their workforce. That's exactly why I like what my friends at Benefits in a Card are doing. Instead of forcing owners into expensive, bundled health plans, they offer unbundled benefits designed for high turnover workforces. Things like free prescriptions through their free RX program, dental, vision, virtual urgent care, and supplemental coverage with no deductibles. The result? You can offer benefits to 100% of your workforce, control costs, and actually improve retention. If benefits have felt like a losing game, check out my friends at benefitsinacard.com and schedule a quick unbundled benefits review. Again, that's benefitsinacard.com. All right, let's get back to the show.
I think at face value, that can seem overwhelming to somebody that's new to the AI space, right? So now we're not only saying, well, you need to jump into the water and give it a shot and start working with it, but we're also saying, well, you need to try multiple LLMs. We don't want to be self-reliant on one because I love the relationship analogy. I might borrow that from you going forward, but I agree with it. Everything behaves differently. So I do think that could, in a sense, be a little overwhelming. So I think it then comes down to, okay, well, let's break it down and simplify it. Let's at least get started one place and then expand out from there, but not become self-reliant on option A because there are increasing options by the day, it seems.
Of the day, it
Maybe
seems
by the
we're
hour?
yeah, maybe. The trying to keep up with AI news is crazy. There's always a new model dropping from all of these different large language models. And I think we're moving into the world of, instead of large language models, we're going to be moving into small language models that are more niched for specific industries. So it's impossible to keep up. There are a few that are easy entrance fees, right? And that's going to be your ChatGPT, your Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, Copilot. You could throw Grok in there too, but I don't like Grok so much. But
I
you
wanted
know,
to, and then I have since stopped using it pretty significantly. I am pretty self-reliant now on ChatGPT and Claude, those and Gemini. So those three work really well for me, but
me
I
too.
use them all for different things. And I think we're aligned there. And I've now been exploring and sort of playing with them in different ways where I know what I want to use each one for, and I stick to that lane. Walk us through small language models. That's the first time I've heard that phrase before. What do you mean by that?
So a large language model is a language model that has all the data and all the information from across the internet. Think of it as wearing the world as its backpack. And then
ChatGPT is a large language model.
ChatGPT is a large
Okay.
language model.
Okay.
Um, and so are all of those that I just mentioned are large language models. A small language model is a compact model that has fewer parameters. So instead of being able to put like that 10 million token size huge prompt in, it definitely has a smaller parameter range, but it's designed more for like high efficiency research contained environments. So it's more niched down to be able to do a specific thing. So maybe it's a small language model specifically for the staffing industry, and it's highly efficient for that specific job. Typically faster, cheaper, and needs higher quality training data because it's just for a specific task or a specific industry rather than having to carry the world on its back. It's just carrying a backpack.
Yeah. I think I like that. I mean, I'm thinking through, right now, if I go into ChatGPT, it can do anything I want it to, right? I can literally take a picture of my fridge and say, what should I make for dinner with what you see in this picture, all the way to tell me about my finances, to tell me about how to be a better recruiter, and
Yeah,
have all these it can do everything, right? I mean, it could troubleshoot what's wrong with my engine in my car if I wanted to. That, because it is sort of this never-ending library, can become a little bit exhaustive.
yeah,
That might be the wrong word, but if we think through, okay, let's break that down to a small language model where now all we need to do is analyze the data in our applicant tracking system. Okay, now we have smaller data to work with. I don't care that the LLM can do all this other stuff. I only need it to function in this
exactly.
specific lane. And for me, that's good enough. I don't care about the rest right now.
I mean, exactly. It's also less prone to hallucinations, and a hallucination is just when it makes stuff up, right? The model's number one job is to make you happy, and if it doesn't have the actual tangible data to make you happy, it will just make it up so that you're happy. But with a smalling training, a data set, it has significantly narrowed the information that it can pull from, therefore narrowing the hallucinations, because it's not, again, grabbing from the whole world, it's just grabbing out of that backpack.
Can we talk hallucinations for a second? Have you found any way to sort of get around those? Is it better prompting? Is it asking for sources? I know a lot of people listening right now are probably going through the motions of, I mean, I had one woman at a conference 2 weeks ago say that she can't really use ChatGPT anymore because it's making too much up and she doesn't know how to get around it. So what have you found in terms of mitigating hallucinations?
So hallucinations now are way less than they were when I started using generative AI 3 years ago. They're definitely there. Um, I mean, a hallucination, like I said, it occurs when a model confidently generates information that is just factually incorrect. When ChatGPT came out originally, it was in the news cycle that people had put in, how do I make sure that my cheese is sticking to my pizza? And ChatGPT was like, super glue the cheese, duh, right? Why? Because again, these large language models are pulling information from every corner of the internet. And there was a Reddit blog out there that was kind of a joking Reddit blog. Somewhere it said, oh, you can super glue your cheese to your pizza, right? So it's pulling it from somewhere or it's making it up. But it doesn't hallucinate quite like that anymore. It's still there though. So you have to always make sure that you're double checking your answers. Human in the loop is wildly important. And that looks like your sources. Sometimes if I get an answer from ChatGPT, I'll throw that into Perplexity, which is like the large language model that is the closest competitor to Google. But Perplexity is awesome at pulling and citing sources that I can then do a little bit more research and make sure that's correct. So that's a way you can double check yourself. Always go back when I'm doing testing on the agents and large language models that I'm pushing out and shipping. I'm always going back into the data and finding the exact source and making sure that that's correct. But prompt engineering helps hallucinations a little bit. If you're putting in good prompts, it's going to heighten accuracy and drive hallucinations down. Also, like I said, using small language models or even getting into your custom GPTs, gems in Gemini, or using Notebook LM is going to drive down hallucinations. Anything that has more of a RAG system, which is what Notebook LM is going to bring down hallucinations because it's pulling directly from the library of data that you give it, which is typically smaller, allowing less things to make up.
Yeah. So you're almost giving the LLM the small language model mentality by giving it the data to pull from. You're
Yes.
not saying go to the internet and find me a quote or a number. You're giving it sort of the data to pull that information from, which helps. I get that.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, it's hallucinating less, but it's still a
Yeah.
possibility. It tends
Yeah.
to hallucinate more with those
I mean, we all
numbers.
hallucinate though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a meeting and you say a stat and you throw out a crazy number, like I could say, I think it's 88% of people trust an online review as much as a friend or a family member. Did I make that up, or did I say it with so much conviction that you now believe me?
Yeah.
And I think we talk about hallucinations in AI because it's an easy target when ChatGPT makes up a number, but I mean, how many speakers have you seen at a conference where they throw out numbers and it's like, well, I don't know. He's wearing a suit. He must be right. Or she's wearing a suit up there. She must be right. Who
Correct.
knows?
They say the same thing with those like self-driving cars. They've gotten in one accident and people are freaking out. Well, what about humans? How many accidents do humans
Right.
get in per day? And now
Right.
we're ostracizing self-driving cars because they got into one accident. But it's still like, we have to remember, always keep human in the loop. There should never be a system where you go from prompt to output to client or prompt to output to job seeker. You should always be reading through the outputs of your large language models, verifying, using critical thinking. And I think this is where a lot of people get upset or nervous about large language models. You hear it all the time. People are going to use their critical thinking. Nobody has to be smart anymore. Well, the people that are using this right and are going to thrive and succeed are the people that still have the critical thinking, the ones that are double checking these answers, making sure that it's relevant and accurate, making sure that it makes sense, putting in their own tone, putting in their own knowledge, because the mixture between human and AI is really what's going to help businesses and people thrive, not just the fact that they can ship out anything that AI ships out. There's a phrase that have kind of come into the hot point recently called AI slop, and people are putting in these prompts because they have to write a system for work, and they're getting these 4 pages of just hogwash of words and shipping it to their manager, and now their manager has to go through and be like, this isn't right, this seems really messed up, this is totally made up. So if you don't keep human in the loop, you end up having AI slop. You will have hallucinations slip through, and you just won't get as good of work coming out of the back end as AI thinks that it does, and as you probably would yourself.
I think that AI slop is increasingly prevalent on LinkedIn right now. I am seeing that, and you can pinpoint it pretty easily. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see somebody's words just don't sound like them. It's pretty obvious, and I think that is. I mean, one, that's not what social media is for, right? Social media is meant to be sort of this break from reality in a sense, right? So if we're just using AI to create social posts, or in your case, AI to create reports that then now managers need to use AI to digest the report because the report's
Right.
too long. It's nonsense. So I'm with you 100% in how can we use AI to almost be our glorified personal assistant, do as much of the work as possible, get us 99% of the way there so that then I can give it a set of eyes, make tweaks as needed, sort of throttle as needed, and then get the final output to the client, to the candidate, whoever it might be. I 100% believe in having human eyes on everything before it's shipped as well.
Yes.
Where do you think we go from here? So as we look at, okay, well, first we need to understand our workflow. We need to have that sort of process map. We need to know where there's friction in our week. We then can either say, okay, well, we can either create AI tools that can help us, not create, I'm sorry, but leverage AI tools that can help us, one-off sort of instances, or we create those repeatable GPTs, whatever it might be, gems as you articulated. We can sort of repeat and have assistance, or we go the AI agent route. At what point do we go from, okay, let's just sort of do these one-off tasks to I need to look into building an agent, or I need to go down a path of having someone help me build an agent? Because that to me seems like we're going from the shallow end to the deep end as we navigate AI.
Yeah, we would be remiss to say that people aren't already going down that path. Just spoke at a staffing conference, and I sat in the room, and it was 50 to 60 people that were sitting in the room, and I asked the entire audience who has agentic systems that are taking care of their menial, monotonous tasks or non-revenue generating tasks. And while 99% of the room did not raise their hand, we did have an agency that said that already built out at least 4 different agents to go through different processes. So we're at the very beginnings. It's 0 days on building out agents, but if you're not even thinking about it or starting that workflow mapping, you very quickly will get behind, because there are people that are already, halfway through their 5K, and if you haven't even woken up to start training yet, you're never gonna beat them in the race, right? So start with a gem. Start with building out a custom GPT that only does job descriptions, right? In a specific industry. So services industry job description. Here's the company, drop in the URL. Every time you drop in the URL of the job description, it understands what that organization does and writes a job description per whatever you need, right? I don't know, just an example. But then start mapping out maybe what that agentic landscape looks like. And I know a lot of people out there aren't going to even understand where to start. That's where you bring in someone like me, or an AI consultant, or start going to conferences, or start listening to podcasts, or start feeding your algorithm your interest in AI and start learning so that you can understand how to map out an agentic landscape. I talked about 7 agents that you could start with in the last talk that I gave. And, something like a sourcing agent that can find and refresh your pipeline continuously, an engagement agent that handles personalized outreach across the multiple platforms that you might use. That's text message and LinkedIn and email. You can do a screening agent, which automatically takes that first round of screening and does it consistently every single time. A scheduling agent, you could do a systems agent, which can like write back to your ATS and have read write access so that that data piece has been taken out from your recruiters and sales reps' hands. So there's so many different things that you can start building. It's just understanding what's not revenue generating, what can be trained on how to do it, where that pain point is, and if you can map it out, and then go in and ask AI about it, right? Drop into your chat GPT and say, hey, I know that every time I get a new rec, I am not even going back to the people that I have in my database. I am not dipping back into the pond that I already have and spending all of this time going, to the river to grab new buckets of water. And I know I'm missing out on a lot of people. So go into your large language model and say that, and say, I'm own a staffing company. I'm trying to do this. I feel like I'm missing out on remining my existing database. I think I should probably build an agent to do this. Where should I start? Anything that you would ask a me or
Yeah.
Brad or a consultant, you can at least get your head around by just asking a large language model. Start making a plan. Again, use your voice, talk it out, take a moment and brain dump. Ugh, my sales reps complain all the time on how they spend 40% of their time updating the ATS. How can I solve this problem using AI?
Mhm.
Right? There's a place to
Yep.
start. Just ask it. I use meta prompting all the time. If you're trying to figure out a prompt or trying to solve a problem, just ask it how AI can help you solve the problem, or ask AI for the
Yeah.
prompt to use with AI so that you have the perfect prompt. Start talking
I'm
out loud.
smiling the entire time you're talking about that. Two of my favorite stories with my own personal AI. One, I love taking ChatGPT on a walk. I say it on stage all the time. One of my favorite things to do, I'm training for a marathon right now. So a lot of those miles are just slow zone 2 miles where you're just moving at a very conversational pace. And I test that conversational pace by having a conversation with ChatGPT. So I need to have, if I'm working through something with work, with Haley, whatever it might be, the show, maybe it's the run prep, whatever it is, nutrition. I take my assistant on a walk with me. I put in
Yeah.
my headphones and I have the conversation because you can. I love doing that. And then two, I love the thought of asking the LLM what I'm doing wrong or how I can improve. One of my favorite things that I've done, and it's such a small detail, but it changed the way that I started using AI myself. I was just trying to create show notes for the podcast. And at one point I was working through ChatGPT and trying to come up with, okay, like the framework for it. And I remember at one point it said, well, to do this, I will need the timestamps from the show. And I started to go through and timestamp key moments. I said, whoa, back up. No, you find the timestamps of the
Yeah.
show. Why am I giving you key moments? You have the transcript. Understand human psychology and figure out the 15 best moments from this show and timestamp it. And I was like, okay, Brad, I could do that for you. I was like, wait, why weren't you doing it in the first place? What do you mean? And just having the mental shift of, no, you do it for me and help me in the sense of you're the technology that I'm trying to offload this task to. I'm sure we all have thousands of stories like that, but it was just this unlock moment of, okay, well, first you'll need to give me that information. And as I started to think through it, say, no, no, you do it. You give me the information and you say thank you.
Yeah, 100%.
It was
That's exactly
outrageous.
it.
Yeah. But I love the thought of, to bring it full circle, I love the thought of getting meta prompting involved and having, okay, well, I don't know how to necessarily do this. Help me do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, as a staffing leader, even in my seat where I'm using AI multiple hours a day, I still don't know it all, and I'm never going to know it all. But I can use the LLM to say, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Ask me one question at a time. That's another one of my like favorite things to do. Don't give
Yes.
me all the questions at once. Ask me one question at a time and let's work through this. And then you help me solve this problem.
Well, I think that's such a hot tip and how I
Hmm.
use it a lot too.
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out this problem. What else do you need to know from me to
Yes.
make sure that we can figure out this with
Yeah.
the most information that will get us to the best answer that we can? So then instead of just answering, now it's gathering more information from you that it needs to feed from you, right? I do the same thing, Brad. I wake up in the morning. I have a conversation with my AI every morning, and I drop my kids off to school, open it up, and then brain dump about everything, about the after school activities that my kids are doing, about the email that I need to write my boss, about the chapter that I'm writing next in my book, about the flight that I need to buy my mom, about, right? Like just brain dump, because as humans, we have 18,000 canisters in our brain that we're trying to pull from on every day. And then I'll say, okay, organize this for me. What's a priority? What should I get done first? What can you help me with doing? And they're like, great, I can start looking for flights for your mom. What day and what day does she need to leave? Right. So then it will start helping me work through all of these different problems, and then saying, if you don't understand how to do anything, ask me questions until we can get it to be a viable plan. So
That's
now
what I
I
think a
like,
lot of people are missing. I think they're missing the ask me questions so that I can provide you more data. At a very, 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 very basic level, it's the write me a blog post on how to improve my resume. Text comes back, we copy and paste that into our blog article, and that's it. And that is, I mean, again, very, 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 very basic. I understand that. But if we took that and we said, okay, now I've been a recruiter for 20 years, interview me on the topic by asking me 15 specific questions and unlock everything that I know about what goes into a perfect resume, now that is going to be a phenomenal article.
huh?
And
And more
Tori,
in your
it's
voice.
100%. And it's
Yeah,
saying, okay, how do we go from sort of this entry level entrance point of using AI to work with me on this? Be the
exactly.
assistant that I'm looking for so that we can get the resolution and the outcome that we want.
Yeah, use it as a co-pilot, not an answer engine.
Love that.
Yeah.
What are we missing? Anything you wish we talked about on this episode that we didn't get to yet?
Oh, what are we missing? Um, Human first, AI forward. Don't offshoot all of your tasks or a full agency to artificial intelligence. I think we have the responsibility as humans to still be the leader in our thought processes, in our businesses, in our daily lives. I think AI can unlock a lot of different opportunities, and AI is the great equalizer. But we need to remember that we're humans first. And I think we hear a lot of organizations out there that are really diving in, which is great. But when they're diving in and saying we're AI first, it sets us up for a scary future. So whether that's keeping human in the loop, whether that's having that time back to put into more humanistic activities and allow yourself to build more relationships, because you don't have to do the data input, or go have a coffee with your friend, or spend a little bit more time with your kids. Just make sure that you're using AI to be a good human, and not just allowing it to kind of take over, spit out slop, and sit on the couch and scroll through your phone. So keep a human first mindset, but use AI in a responsible and profitable way. We can have it both ways.
Before I get you to our rapid fire round, I want to give you the space to share a little bit about yourself and your company.
Sure. I head AI for a national marketing agency called Voice Media Group. We have a digital marketing arm called V Digital Services, and we also own papers around the nation. Here, I live in DFW. We own the Dallas Observer, but we also own the Phoenix New Times, the Miami New Times, the Denver Westward. What I do is I do the training and enablement for the employees across the nation. So get AI literacy into the bloodstream so people understand a lot of the stuff that we just talked about in this chat, hot tips to how to use it, where we can start, what large language models to implement. I also do the strategy and roadmaps on what we're going to build internally to help our sales reps, fulfillment team, marketing team, edit team be able to get tasks done. And how AI is changing the marketing, advertising, and sales industry as a whole, and where we can take and pivot to stay up with the times. And then I take that to the development team. I work on a mild tech PM side, helping develop custom agents and large language models so that we can actually push those out to our employees. And then I kind of start that process again and train on how to use these tools, agents, and systems that we're building. So a busy day, really thinking about AI as a whole. I started this a long time ago. So I've been in this position for about 2 years, much longer before a lot of people even knew they needed somebody to kind of head AI in their organization. So I took that as my responsibility that I got to fail and figure it out before a lot of people even started. So I started an AI networking group here in DFW called Mind and Machine. And we bring SMBs together monthly to do education pieces on how to build agents or governance and security behind large language models or AI in CPG. And we get, 200 business leaders together monthly to chat about AI, to learn how we're all succeeding and failing with it and to grow together within the system, because ultimately AI has to be a community driven thing. You need humans to get together with other humans to talk about it, because not one person can absorb all the information or figure it all out. And it has to be collaborative. So I run on that side. And then I'm a national speaker making AI absorbable and approachable for business leaders all over the nation.
I'm glad we crossed paths at the Midwest Conference. I'm glad you came on the show and shared your insights with us on AI. It's a hot topic in staffing, and it seems like I know I was at ABD and then I was at the Midwest Conference. ABD, they had a specific track just on AI. It seems like the Midwest Conference, it was probably half the sessions were at least AI themed in one way or another, right? Even if it was a sales-centric talk, it was how can AI integrate into sales? So it's definitely a hot item in staffing and recruiting. So I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some ideas with us all.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Before
met
I
me as
let you
well.
go, I want to run you through our rapid fire round if you got another second for
I
two more questions.
do. Yeah.
Perfect. One book that has fundamentally changed your life.
Oh, good question. The Women by Kristen Hanna. Um, it's about women that fought in the Vietnam War, and I don't think I had ever thought about that before. And it just shows that we can have resilience and do things in a male-dominated space, which is a space that I feel like I'm in tech and AI.
Good parallel there. And one piece of advice that you would give to somebody just starting in staffing and recruiting, what would you tell them?
Oh, get a hard shell. I was in staffing and
Wear a
recruiting a
helmet.
lot. Learn to be okay with no, and be okay with somebody hanging up on you, and being okay with someone not calling you back. Just don't take hard feelings and keep going.
Tori, I appreciate you. It was a fun conversation. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all your insights with us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Brad.